Again? We're going to do this again? Headline at Front Office Sports. Feds investigating Terry Rozier for NBA point shaving. I know I keep repeating myself, but I'm going to say this again. The NBA cannot get the hell out of their own way. It was bad enough when we had NBA officials betting on games. Now, for the second time in less than, 12 months? We have another case of NBA players potentially betting on games. And this time, it's not a scrub like Jonte Porter. It's not some doofus being paid to keep the bench warm so the stars have a nice warm seat to soothe the bruised caboose. This time, we've got an actual starter. This time, we have a player with name recognition. According to Front Office Sports, the Feds are investigating Terry Rozier for potentially pulling himself out of a game against the Pelicans in March of 2023. He left the game early with a supposed foot injury. Allegedly, the injury was planned. According to the investigation, a group of gamblers were notified before the game that this was going to happen. So, what did they do? They placed large sums of money on Terry Rozier going under his PRA, which is points, rebounds, and assists. Obviously, they won the bet. Kinda hard to go over when you're pulling yourself out of the game in the first quarter. Whether or not this is true, I don't know, but as is often the case in situations like this, truth really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the perception. And the NBA is once again being perceived as a league that is rigged. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you happen to stumble upon this video, be sure to check out my main channel, Behind the Line. Link to the main channel's in the description below. Back in March of 2023, a gambling influencer got on social media and started working his Twitter fingers. He was boasting about receiving inside information that Terry Rozier was leaving the game in the first or second quarter. I don't know if that's how the investigation started, but it wouldn't surprise me. The vast majority of investigations and convictions, they come from some dumbass who doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut. They never seem to follow the wisdom that Robert De Niro provided for free in Goodfellas. Never, ever rat on your friends. You know, when they look back 10 years from now, I think Roger Goodell and Adam Silver are going to regret embracing gambling. Gambling is ruining sports. It's ruining how fans perceive the game. It's ruining how fans watch the game. And apparently, it's ruining how players approach the game. As you guys know, I go to several NBA games every season. I go to a handful of games during the regular season. I go to a handful of games in the playoffs. It never fails. Every time I'm at a game, there's some doofus around me that's complaining about his player prop parlay. Come on, LeBron, I need one more steal to hit my $5 parlay. I'm depending on that money to feed Garfield tomorrow. Purina's expensive. This scandal involving Terry Rozier, it's different from the gambling scandals in the past. Tim Donaghy was making six figures as an NBA official. Good money, but it's not FU money. In 4 or 5 years in the NBA, Jonte Porter, he made $2.7 million. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not. After taxes, paying his agent, and of course, the money set aside for his posse. Jonte Porter probably had a net worth that was measured in pesos. In both of those situations, I could kind of understand the appeal to fixed games. Obviously, I didn't agree with it, but at least I could understand where they were coming from. Terry Rozier, he's made over $150 million throughout his NBA career. On the surface, Terry Rozier shouldn't need the money. There's always been this perception in professional sports that players are making far too much money to fix games. Why would someone making $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 million a year, why in the hell would they risk that kind of money to fix games? It's not worth it, right? This scandal with Terry Rozier destroys that perception. This is the last thing the NBA needs right now. This league is already struggling. The NBA can't draw flies to a fresh turd on television. Players are perceived as being entitled and lazy, and now you can add the perception that players are fixing games, which means every time a player misses a layup, there's going to be questions. Every time an official blows a call, there's going to be questions. And this doesn't just affect the NBA, it affects all professional sports. One of the biggest stories going into the Super Bowl, the NFL potentially fixing games in favor of the Chiefs. I'm sure some people will say, well, there's always been gambling scandals in sports. Pete Rose, Tim Donaghy, the point shaving scheme at Boston College. Yeah, that's true, but those were 3 scandals over a period of 30 years. We have 2 allegations in the NBA in the last 12 months. 3 if you want to consider the current perception of the NFL going into the Super Bowl. The problem is, I don't think there's a solution to the problem. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. Once you embrace gambling, it's like a fungus. It never goes away, it just spreads. Now, do I think the entire NBA is rigged? Absolutely not, but it doesn't matter. All it takes is one player, or in this case, 2 players. That's all it takes for the entire league to be perceived as rigged. I don't know how you restore the integrity of the league. It was an absolute miracle that David Stern got the NBA through the Tim Donaghy scandal. Unfortunately for the NBA, David Stern is no longer converting oxygen to carbon dioxide. They have to rely on the incredibly weak Adam Silver. According to Front Office Sports, the NBA investigated Terry Rozier and found no wrongdoing. I guess the FBI wasn't willing to take their word for it, so they launched their own investigation. See what happens. We'll see what happens. But again, the story's already leaked. The perception is already out there. You have a rotational player, a starter. You have someone who's made $150 million, potentially betting on himself not to perform. Like I said, I don't know how you solve the problem. I don't know how the NBA can restore their integrity. You tell me. You tell me how it can be done. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the main channel.